Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a story that completely changed the way you think? A story that made you stop in your tracks, question your own excuses, and say to yourself, if they could do it, what's stopping me? A story that shook you to your very core, not because it was filled with drama, but because it revealed the truth, the raw, unfiltered truth about the power of human resilience. We are wired for stories. Since the beginning of time, long before books, before the internet, before anything we rely on today, people sat around fires sharing their experiences. Why? Because stories give us hope. They remind us that no matter how dark the night, the sun will rise again. They remind us that pain is temporary, and that even in our lowest moments, we have the power to rise. But here's what I want you to realize. Your story is still being written. The chapters that seem impossible today will one day be the very proof of your strength. The moments that make you want to give up will be the ones you look back on with pride, realizing they shaped you into the person you were always meant to be. The people we admire, those who overcame impossible odds, who refused to settle, who turned pain into power, they weren't born different from you. They weren't handed a golden ticket to success. No, what separated them was one thing: the decision to keep going. And today I want to share some of those stories with you. Stories that will open your eyes, shake your soul, and ignite something deep inside you. These are not just tales of success. They are testaments to the human spirit, to resilience, to the power of belief in the face of overwhelming odds. These are the stories of individuals who started at rock bottom, who were counted out, who had every reason to give up. But instead, they rose. They fought. They refused to let their circumstances define them. And because of that, they changed their lives. By the end of this video, you won't just hear these stories, you'll feel them in your heart. You'll understand in a way you never have before that success has never been about luck, about talent, or about having the perfect conditions. No, success is about something much deeper. It's about your mindset, the way you see yourself, the way you talk to yourself, the way you respond when life knocks you down. It's about resilience, the ability to get back up again and again, no matter how many times you fall. And most importantly, it's about belief, the unwavering, unshakable belief that no matter where you are right now, no matter how impossible your dreams may seem, you are capable of more than you ever imagined. And let me tell you something, if you don't believe that yet, if there's even a small part of you that doubts your own power, then you need to hear these stories. You need to understand that the only thing standing between you and the life you want isn't money, isn't connections, isn't some magical stroke of luck. It's you. It's your own willingness to step forward, to push through the fear, to silence the doubts, and to take control of your destiny. Because today, everything changes. If you've ever felt like the odds are stacked against you, like no matter how hard you fight, no matter how much effort you put in, life keeps knocking you down, pushing you back, and making you question whether you'll ever rise, then you need to hear this story. Because this story is not just about one man's journey. It's about the raw, undeniable truth that setbacks do not define you. Your response to them does. There was once a man who was born into extreme, crushing poverty. From the very beginning, life did not deal him a fair hand. His father walked out on the family when he was just a helpless infant, leaving his mother alone to struggle and scrape by, doing everything she could just to put food on the table. But tragedy didn't stop there. By the time he was just 7 years old, an age where children should feel safe, loved, and protected, his mother passed away, leaving him completely alone in the world. No parents, no guidance, no stability, just a scared little boy, bouncing from foster home to foster home, never knowing where he truly belonged. Can you imagine that? Being a child with no one to lean on, no place to call home, no sense of security in a world that already felt so cold and unforgiving? Most people would have been crushed by that reality. Time and time again, he faced failure. But he didn't stop there. He tried to start his own business. He wanted to create something for himself to break free from the cycle of poverty he had been born into. But no matter how hard he worked, no matter how much effort he poured into it, Every single attempt failed. Let that sink in. He wasn't just struggling for a few years, he was struggling for his entire life. By the time he reached his 60s, he had nothing. No savings, no success, no legacy. He was broke, alone, and drowning in a sea of disappointment. Can you imagine what that must have felt like? To have spent an entire lifetime trying, only to be left with nothing but failure after failure? Most people would have quit. Most people would have accepted their fate and settled for whatever scraps life had left to offer. But not him. This man refused to let his story end in failure, even at 65 years old. An age when most people are retiring, he was still searching for his breakthrough. And then, finally, he found it. That man's name? Colonel Sanders. The man who, after a lifetime of struggle and setbacks, founded Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. Now just think about that for a moment. 65 years of failure, decades of heartbreak, a lifetime of rejection. And yet, he still kept going. He still believed. He still fought for his dream. Now, let me ask you something. What if he had given up at 64? What if, after all those years of pain, struggle, and disappointment, he had told himself, it's too late for me? What if he had listened to the voice of doubt telling him to stop? What if he had quit just 1 year too soon? His story teaches us something incredibly powerful. Your struggles don't define you. Your response to them does. So, if you're going through hardship right now, if you feel lost, if you feel like no matter what you do, you just can't seem to catch a break, don't you dare give up. Don't let life break you, let it build you. Don't let obstacles bury you, let them strengthen you. Don't let failure defeat you, let it fuel you. Because the difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's resilience. Failure. Just hearing that word is enough to make most people uneasy. It's a word that paralyzes so many dreams before they even have a chance to take flight. It's a word that has crushed potential, broken spirits, and kept millions of people from even trying. But let me tell you something that most people don't realize. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's not a roadblock, it's not a dead end, and it's definitely not the end of the journey. No, failure is the foundation of success. There was once a young man who had a dream so big, so impossible, that everyone around him laughed at him for even trying. He wanted to be an actor, but not just any actor. He wanted to be a star, to create something unforgettable, something that would leave a lasting impact on the world. But dreams don't come easy. He auditioned, and he was rejected. He auditioned again, rejected, again, rejected. Not just once, not just 10 times, not just 100 times. This man went to over 1,500 auditions, and every single time he was told the same thing, no. 1,500 times. Think about that. Let that number sink in. He was so broke that he lived in a tiny, cramped apartment with barely any furniture, barely any food. There were nights he went to sleep hungry, days where he wondered if he would ever make it. He had to sell his own dog, his best friend, just to buy food. Can you imagine the pain of that? Being so desperate, so down to your last dollar. Most people would have quit long before that. Most people would have looked at those 1,500 rejections and said, maybe this isn't for me. Most people would have given up after 10 rejections. Some after 50. How many of us would have the resilience to keep going after 100, after 500, after 1,000? But not him. But he didn't let rejection define him. He didn't let failure break him. Instead of giving up, he kept pushing. He kept auditioning. He refused to accept no as the final answer. He believed in himself, even when the entire world was telling him he wasn't good enough. And then one day he got his shot. One opportunity, one moment, one chance to prove that all the struggle, all the pain, all the rejection had been worth it. That young man was Sylvester Stallone. The movie, Rocky. Now, think about yourself. Most people quit after 3 rejections. Some give up after 10. How many times have you told yourself it's too hard, that it's not meant for you? That maybe, just maybe, you should give up? But here's the truth. Failure is not a stop sign. Failure is a stepping stone. Every no brings you closer to the right yes. Every rejection is just proof that you're in the game, that you're trying, that you're daring to go after something that most people are too afraid to even attempt. Because the only time you truly fail is the moment you decide to quit. So let me ask you something. How many times are you willing to fail before you succeed? Because the ones who make it, they're the ones who refuse to stop. The most powerful tool you have in this world is not money. It's not status. It's not talent or luck or even the people you know. It's your mindset. Think about that for a second. Everything you have ever achieved, everything you have ever failed at, everything you have ever dreamed of, it has all been shaped by the way you think, the way you perceive the world, and the way you respond to obstacles. There was once a young man, brilliant, passionate, and full of vision. At just 23 years old, he built something extraordinary. He didn't just dream, he created. He took an idea and turned it into something real, something powerful, something that was changing the world. He put his heart into it, gave everything he had, sacrificed sleep, time, comfort, everything. And then one day, he was fired. Imagine that. Imagine putting your entire soul into something, building it from the ground up, pouring your sweat, your time, your very existence into it, only to be told you're not good enough, only to be pushed out of the very thing you helped create. The pain, the betrayal, the devastation. Most people would have crumbled under that kind of loss. So I need you to do one thing for me. Stay with me until the very end. Because I promise you, one of these stories, maybe just one sentence, one moment, one idea, might be the thing that shifts everything for you. One story might be the moment your mindset changes, the moment you realize you've been holding yourself back, the moment you decide once and for all that you are done making excuses, done waiting, done playing small. Most people would have let that failure define them. Most people would have walked away convinced that their best days were behind them, but not him. See, this man understood something most people don't. He knew that failure is not the end. Failure is an opportunity, an invitation to begin again, but this time, even better. Instead of disappearing, instead of running away, instead of giving up on himself, he rebuilt. He took every ounce of pain, every lesson learned, and he used it as fuel. He started again from nothing, and he created something even greater. That man, Steve Jobs. The company, Apple. Years later, after proving himself in ways no one could ignore, he was invited back. And under his leadership, Apple didn't just grow, it changed the world. It transformed technology forever. Now, what changed? Not his intelligence. He was always smart. Not his skills. He always had them. What changed was his mindset. He refused to see failure as an ending. He refused to let rejection define his worth. He refused to accept the idea that his best work was behind him. Instead, he saw failure for what it really is, a lesson, a test, a push in the right direction, a reminder that every setback is just another chance to come back stronger. And the same is true for you. Right now, in this moment, your thoughts are shaping your reality, the way you see the world, the way you respond to challenges, the way you push forward or hold yourself back. It all starts in your mind. So if you want to change your life, start by changing your mindset. Because once you master that, there's nothing you can't do. If this video inspired you, hit that like button, comment below, what's one lesson you're taking away from this? And don't forget to subscribe for more daily motivation. This message is for motivational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice.